Hello everyone, and welcome back to Miss Ramoser's temporary classroom away from Viewlands Elementary. I am so happy that you are here with me, so thank you for taking this time to grow your brain. You are awesome! Today we are going to talk about the word empathy. Let's say that together. Empathy. One more time. Empathy. How many beats was that? Empathy. 3 beats in empathy. We can have empathy or we can empathize with other people when we are able to understand and know how someone else feels because we have felt something similar. For instance, all of us have been sick before. We've all known what it feels like to have a runny nose or maybe cough or maybe have a headache. And so if you see someone else that's sick, you can empathize with them because you know it's not a very good feeling. Similarly, we've all felt excited before. Sometimes we get excited if we are going to eat our favorite meal for dinner, or we might get excited if we are seeing someone really special to us and we get to give them a hug. You can empathize with other people who are excited when you think about a time that you felt excited too. When we empathize with other people, we're putting ourselves in that person's shoes so that we know and think and feel what they feel. So today, we're going to practice having empathy and showing empathy through reading a story called The Sandwich Swap. Swap. When I swap something out, it means I trade something. So right now, I have a blue comprehension wand, and I'm going to swap it out for a green one. I swapped my wands. I switched them. So before we get into this amazing story, we need to place where we are on the mood meter today. So when I look at the mood meter, I know I have the red section, which means I might be feeling mad or frustrated. I have the yellow section, which means I'm happy or excited. I have the blue section, which means I'm tired or maybe kind of sick or sad. And the green section, which means I'm ready to learn, I feel calm. Today, Miss Ramoser is in the yellow section. I feel excited. Have you ever felt excited? Then you can empathize with me. You know how I feel. It also is important for us to show empathy if we notice that a friend of ours might be in one of these two zones. For instance, I know that when I feel sad, I sometimes like a hug from people that I know. But I know too that sometimes other people, they don't like to get a hug. They like to have some space. So there have been times where I wanted a hug, and there have also been times where I wanted space. So if I see another friend that's sad, I can imagine what they might feel like. I can empathize with them if they want space or if they want a hug. And that helps me be a better friend to them. What zone are you in today? Take a moment to think, and then I want you to say the sentence, today I'm in the, and place yourself in one of these zones. Thinking. Today I'm in the zone. Your turn. Today I'm in the zone. Thank you for taking the time to think about what zone you are in. So now that we've placed ourselves on the mood meter, we get to read our story, The Sandwich Swap. This story is by Her Majesty Queen Renaya Al Abdullah with Kelly DiPuccio, illustrated by Trisha Tusa. Wow, when I look at this story, I really like these illustrations. I love how the illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, made sure to indicate that these friends are smiling at one another. I can tell that they both care about each other a lot. They're holding hands, they're smiling, they're sharing the same space. I wonder if they're best friends. Do you have a best friend? So, today's story is The Sandwich Swap. I wonder how it might make both of these characters feel to have a beautiful hug like that. It all began with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it ended with a hummus sandwich. Salma and Lily were best friends at school. They drew pictures together. They played on the swings together. They jumped rope together. And they ate their lunches together. Can you see our main characters? I see Salma. Oh, there's Louise. But just what they ate was a little bit different. Lily is her name, not Louise. Lily ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day for lunch. Salma ate a hummus and pita sandwich every day for lunch. And although Lily never said it out loud, she thought Salma's sandwich looked weird and yucky. She felt terrible that her friend had to eat that icky chickpea paste every day. Ew, yuck. And although Salma never said it out loud, she thought Lily's sandwich looked strange and gross. She felt just as awful that her friend had to eat that gooey peanut paste every day. Ew, gross. Then, one day, Lily just couldn't hold back those pesky thoughts any longer. "Your sandwich looks kind of yucky," she blurted out. "What did you say?" Salma asked, thinking she must have misunderstood her friend. "I said, your sandwich looks yucky." Let's take a moment here and see if we can empathize with how Salma might feel to hearing that her very best friend thinks the food that she eats and loves looks yucky. How do you think it might make you feel if someone looked over at your food and said, "That looks yucky"? Would you feel happy, or would that hurt your feelings and give you some not so good thoughts? Maybe you've had a time where you were eating food that another friend thought was yucky, and maybe they even said, "Ew, that looks gross." How did that make you feel? If we think about a time where maybe we had a similar experience, it helps us to empathize with the characters in this story. Salma frowned. She looked down at the thin, soft bread, and she thought of her beautiful, smiling mother as she carefully cut Salma's sandwich into 2 neat halves that morning. Her hurt feelings turned mad. I can empathize with that too. "Yeah, well, your sandwich looks gross, and it smells bad too," Salma snapped back. Lily looked surprised. She sniffed the thick, squishy bread, and she thought of her dad in his silly apron, whistling as he cut Lily's sandwich into 2 perfect triangles that morning. Lily scowled. "It does not smell bad." "Does too." "Ew, yuck, ew, gross." Uh-oh, how do you think both of these characters are feeling right now? That afternoon, the friends did not draw pictures together. They did not swing together, and they did not jump rope together either. The next day, Salma ate her lunch at one table, and Lily ate her lunch at another. Meanwhile, the peanut butter versus hummus story had spread, and everyone began choosing sides. Each side had something not so nice to say to the other. Peanut butter breath, jelly heads, garlic breath, chickpea brains. Pretty soon, the rude insults had nothing at all to do with peanut butter or hummus. You're weird. You're stupid. You look funny. You dress dumb. And then it happened. Somebody yelled. Food fight! Peanut butter and hummus sandwiches and other lunch favorites began flying back and forth between both sides of the lunchroom. They stuck to the walls. They stuck to the ceiling. They stuck to the lunch lady. When the sandwiches were all gone, pudding cups and applesauce and carrot sticks took flight. Selma and Lily looked at one another from across the rowdy, splattered room. They both felt ashamed by what they saw. They both felt really ashamed when the principal called them into her office after they had helped to clean up the mess. The following day, Salma set her lunch down across from Lily's. The two girls nibbled on their sandwiches in silence. Finally, Lily got up the courage to speak. "Would you like to try a bite of my peanut butter and jelly?" Salma grinned. "Sure, why not? Would you like to try my hummus and pita?" Lily laughed. "I'd like that." On the count of 3? Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yummy. Hey, this is delicious. And this is heavenly. The girls giggled and hugged and traded sandwiches. After lunch, Salma and Lily met with the principal again. This time, they were there to suggest a very special event for the whole school. I wonder what this event might be. Wow! What do you notice is happening? What do you see in this picture? When I look back at this, I see families and guardians of the students standing by, and I notice that not only have students all brought food, but there also are flags to represent the different countries that their families may have come from, or maybe where they have learned about foods that they really love. Wow, so many different food dishes and cuisines are represented on this table. I'm sure that if I went to eat some of this food, some of it would be food that I'd never seen before. I wonder how I could give other people good thoughts about trying the food that's so special to them. And that's how it all began, with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and ended with a hummus and pita sandwich. So, something that you might remember learning earlier this year when we were at school is something that we called yucking other people's yums. So when I read this story, it reminded me of that because I noticed that in the very, very beginning of the story, after we learn about how good of friends these two people are, I learned that both of them actually spent a lot of time thinking, if I can get to the page, thinking about their other friend's food. And instead of at first being just curious, they both just assumed that their friend had gross food that didn't taste good. So if we yuck someone else's yum, it means that we look at someone else's food that they're eating, and instead of thinking about how they might really like that food, or the fact that we've never had that food before all that, someone just says, yuck. And that might really give some people some not so good thoughts. When I was a kid, my mom used to make me this lunch with ham slices, and she would put cream cheese inside of them and roll them up, and we called them ham roll-ups. They still are one of my favorite snacks to eat. But I very clearly remember eating my lunch at school, and one of my friends leaned over and said, "Ew, what's that?" It made me feel really sad and hurt, especially because the food that we eat in my family is really important. It defines who we are. Now, I can empathize with both of these characters because later on in the story, when they started to kind of hurt one another's feelings, instead of just thinking that, wow, maybe my friend enjoys that food, the first thing they said was, ew. Have you ever had a friend tell you that the things you were eating didn't look yummy? How did it make you feel? Maybe you also can empathize with these characters. Now, not only do we know that we do not yuck other people's yums because it might give them some not so good thoughts and hurt their feelings, but we have a strategy that we use in our classroom to help us try new things. And I want us to talk about that right now. It's a pretty easy strategy too, because the way it works is everybody tries different foods sometimes in their life. And if we didn't, we wouldn't have as many great foods that we liked. So, keeping that in mind, if I have a new food to try that maybe my friend's family has brought in, we always use the one bite rule. We just have one small bite, and we ask that our students do the same. And if you don't like that food, that's okay. You don't have to keep eating it and pretend that you do. You can just say, "Thank you so much for this. I don't like it, but thank you anyways." And even though it might hurt some other people's feelings at first, we can remind them, "That's awesome that you like this food. I have other things that I like, but thanks for letting me try it." We always want to try new foods because that's how we might find our new favorite food. We also want to make sure that we don't yuck other people's yums because that could give them some really not so good thoughts. So I wonder if there is a way that you can try eating something new or even doing something new today. For instance, in this story, I noticed that even after Selma and Lily realized that they like each other's foods, they probably still went back to eating some of what they do on a normal basis. But maybe sometimes they try their new food too. I wonder if this also works for different opinions and beliefs that people have. For instance, I know that Salma's favorite food was pita and Lily's favorite food was peanut butter and jelly, and they still are able to be best friends even though they have a difference. This makes me think of one of my friends because I know that she really loves to play soccer. I don't like to play soccer. I like to hike. But we're still friends because we respect these differences in one another. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you for taking this time to grow your brain. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.